So we're going to go through door hanging basics. So just the basics. I'll show you down the road when I actually physically hang a door and all the elements involved. But right now you may want to just know, okay, well I need to hang a door, I just need to know lowdown on it. So this is it. Okay, so for door swing, I've drawn, like, this is just a top view looking down on the door. So this is your framing. So your rough opening is from here to here. Looking down, so this is your jamb, and so is this. This is the door and the hinge, right? So when you're looking at like the main side of the door, like the side that you'd enter from, like a hallway, let's say, looking at the door, the hinge is on the right side, so that's a right hand in swing door. It swings into the room like this. So follow the arrow, it swings in because it pivots right here on the hinge. So we're just going to go through the basics now. This is one element. Like, I'm going to draw this scenario up as if you're laying it onto like a finished floor, like finished hardwood, laminate, lino, tile, whichever, right? So this is a lowdown for that. Carpet, you have a little more leniency, and I'll show you why. So this is your rough opening, and we're looking at the door as if we're looking at it this way. So first thing that I like to do is I like to put my level across the width of the door. So if it's a 3-foot opening, just for a rough example, I like to cut like a nice straight 2x4, and I like to level it across the bottom to see if my floor is level or not. And the reason I do that is because, let's say your floor is sloped a little bit like that, you want this side of your jamb to be longer than this side. And the reason that is because this side, when you hang it, you always start with the hinge side first, and you hang it plumb. So nice and vertical this way. And then, since that's plumb and your door is square, that means this top has to be level. So let's say level is right here. Sorry. Level's like this. And when you hold your board and the level, and you notice that you measure from there to the ground, let's say it was out 1/2 inch. So then what you do is, like, and sometimes I'll even draw, because sometimes you can cut the wrong side of the jamb. So sometimes I'm like, oh, how does that work? I just kind of draw a picture like this. Okay, I'm going to cut 1/2 inch off of this side, so that when you set your jamb in, so let's say we set our jamb in like this, and you just roughly sit it in the opening, when you should be able to put a level across the top of the jamb, and it should be level. That's a good sign. Because on hardwood or lino, you don't want to have to lift this side up and have a gap between the bottom of your jamb and your lino. Or if it's the other way around, you can't push it down anymore without having to like get in there and try to saw it and whatnot, right? So that's step number one. Check the floor for level. Cut your jamb accordingly, or if it's level, then this side of the jamb and this side should be the same length. When you roughly set it in, then this top should be level, okay? That's a step that can be easily overlooked. So then this is my hinge side right here on the right. So basically the gist of this is just the basics. So you want to just shim it and set this side plumb. And sometimes, depending on the size of your opening, you know, and just go back to other videos where I've talked about the widths of the rough openings and stuff. Like, sometimes you have to set this side, your hinge side, really tight to allow for more room over here. But regardless, you want to set your hinge side plumb, and you want it flush with the drywall on either side, right? So that's set plumb, good, it's done, it's straight. Now use a level, like let's say you're using a 4-foot level. So what I like to do is, when the door is roughly sitting there, I like to just shim here and here on either side and just kind of lock the door into place so it's not falling out and whatnot, right? So then, once I know that this is good, I'll put a fastener in here, boom, through my shims and lock that top into position. Then I'll take my 4-foot level, let's say the 4-foot level ends right here. I'll just set this part plumb, and typically you want your screws through where your hinge locations are, because that's where most of the pressure is. So, and I'll just use that 4-foot level, I'll set that part of the jamb nice and straight and plumb, and I can tell by gaps against the jamb and the level if I need to shim it this way or in or whatever. Like, you want to set it plumb and nice and straight. So once that's set, then I just move it down to the bottom. So the 4-foot level would then be just sitting wherever it needs to, and I'll set my very bottom so that it's plumb from here to here. Then I'll make sure I'll shim it, I'll make it straight so that there's no gaps in my level, so my jamb should be nice and straight and plumb. Then I proceed to hang my door. So then I hang the door in its location. And basically the hardest part of hanging the door is done. So now what you do, let's say that's your door. Now you just hang your door on the hinges, and then you just make this gap even all the way around. And it's already all set for you, right? So this is set, this is already set, so the gap right here is usually what you determine the gap all the way down. So you just basically, I just call it a reveal. If it's 1/8 or whatever, I just eyeball it. Just eyeball that gap around the top of the door, down the side, and you should be done.